Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy, and I want to talk about how he wins the 2024 U.S. presidential election by hacking the media. I am convinced. I've been thinking, I've just been thinking a lot about what's happening in America and our history with elections, specifically our history with President Donald Trump and with President Joseph Biden. And I think what's extremely clear now is that the media determines who wins the U.S. presidential election. The media determines it. This is not against the law. In fact, the reason this exists, the reason why this is because we Americans have chosen this to be, right? We give the media our attention every single day by minutes or hours to a citizen, right? And we will vote for the candidate that the media proves to us to be most hopeful and or most connected to goodwill or most entertaining, right? President Donald Trump, super simple. He was incredibly entertaining, right? He was like, and that's not me saying that. Like, literally, the news shot through the roof and cratered when he was off, right? Shot through the roof when he was on, cratered when he was off. I mean, literally, like networks went out of business. Like, people lost their jobs because they could not replace the entertainment that he was supplying the American people, right? Truly astounding, right? So what I want to talk today, and so what I'm saying is that in order to win the U.S. presidential election, you have to abandon traditional campaigning. Today, in 2024, Vivek Ramaswamy must abandon traditional campaigning. He is sadly mistaken. He thinks that as a good candidate, he can run a good race and win. That's wrong. He has to control the media. This is what President Donald Trump did, and he won, okay? Now, wait a second, Scott. What about President Joseph Biden? President Joseph Biden, ain't nobody in the media love him. That is correct. No one in the media likes President Joseph Biden because nobody. Well, I think President Joseph Biden's, family. They love him. They enjoy him. They think he's a nice person. Nobody beyond that likes that ward cleaver. Like, nothing he does is interesting or compelling, right? Like, he's not a compelling person, right? And so basically, you have this. You arrive at this situation where. So how did he win, right? Goodwill. He is attached to the goodwill of President Obama, right? And so basically people were like, wait a second, you could give me another 8 years of President Obama? And we actually thought that. When President Biden rolled in, we did not think for 1 second that the words of David Plotz, when he described the American people's perception of President Joseph Biden as doddering, lacking energy, kind of incoherent, and not very visible, would become a stark reality very quickly. None of us knew that, right? Having an 80-year-old president was an experiment. We know how that experiment ends, in absolute catastrophe, right? World War III, edge of World War III for a year and a half. You can't buy eggs, you can't buy cars, you can't buy houses. American dream dead in less than 3 years. Okay, that's what an 80-year-old president does. That's what we know, right? Experiment failed, right? All right. So if you have to capture the media, then what you have to do is you have to do it daily. There's only 14 months left, and Vivek Ramaswamy has to use the current events of America to grab the bull by the horn, okay? And just pull it to his eyes, the way President Donald Trump did all the time. He absolutely dominated the media, and Vivek Ramaswamy is going to need to do the same thing, right? He needs to morally and ethically dominate the media. It's going to be very hard. It's not going to be easy. I keep hearing a lot of people in the comments roll up and say this is going to be a landslide. If you don't know, under no circumstance is Vivek Ramaswamy going to win by a landslide. Vivek Ramaswamy definitely can win, okay? but he's going to have to beat the odds to do it, and President Donald Trump is going to be incredibly difficult to beat. President Joseph Biden didn't beat him by a landslide, and the election was given to him by the media, right? Like, so this idea that there's going to be a landslide for Vivek Ramaswamy is quite absurd. He can win, but not by a landslide. Let's be realistic here, right? All right. So what can he do to grab the media's attention today, right? And I think he needs to start doing this on a drumbeat rhythm. Catch the media, catch the media, catch the media. Just grab that ring in their nose, like the ring in the bull's nose, right? And just yank it to him, all right? And say, look in my eyes, I'm Vivek Ramaswamy. Pay attention, eyes on me, right? Like, and he's got to do it. He's got to get very used to doing this. He has to. It's absolutely critical that he does this. Otherwise, he loses. I'm convinced the path to the presidency is the American media, right? And honestly, we've known this since JFK beat Kennedy, right? We're just learning it harder, right? So how does he get the media today? Well, today Martin Scorsese is the mark, right? So Martin Scorsese is an incredibly privileged Hollywood director, right? And he's had a lot of prestige and he's had a lot of praise, which he deserved, okay? But he has castigation that is deserved today, in my humble opinion. And I think Vivek Ramaswamy needs to bring it to him, right? And Vivek Ramaswamy needs to break off a part of Martin Scorsese's prestige and burn it as fuel to rocket him forward toward the presidency right now, right? Now, first of all, why should Martin Scorsese have this done to him, right? Well, because he deserves it. He just said that comic book movies have to be fought against in the cinema, right? And he said the directors that people should really be watching now is Christopher Nolan. He didn't even read the basic Wikipedia page that would explain that Christopher Nolan is the best comic book director that has ever existed because he directed the 3 greatest Batman films ever made, right? And he directed The Dark Knight, which Heath Ledger won an Oscar for, and it was the first comic book movie ever to win an Oscar. It's like he's completely ignorant of film history within the last 20 years, right? Which I think is correct. I think he's like, everything he said, oh, we got to fight against comic book movies. It's old man grump, get off my lawn energy, right? Martin Scorsese is not stupid. He's extremely intelligent, right? He's blinded by his outrageous old man grump prejudice, right? Of get off my lawn, nothing good, nothing new is good, right? And he's making statements insulting insulting 2 industries, the comic book industry and the movie industry, right? Because the movie industry actually owes a debt to comic book films, right? Which he's not acknowledging. And so it is his arrogance and foolishness that makes him the mark. And I hate to say it, Vivek Ramaswamy needs to start grabbing marks, right? And he needs to pick them wisely. And guess what? An incredibly privileged Hollywood director that's spouting off extremely ill-researched nonsense is a good mark, right? And in one foul swoop, Vivek Ramaswamy can defend the comic book industry and the movie industry by just simply stating the facts that I said, which are found literally on a Wikipedia page, right? So, right? And he can also remind everybody that 80-year-old people, guess how old Martin Scorsese is? He's 80 years old. And he's trotting out to promo Killers of the Flower Moon, a 3.5-hour movie that his arrogance and foolishness said, I'm not going to take any notes. And you can sit here until you can't sit any longer and have to go to the bathroom and miss some of the movie. And then you'll have to see it again. But nobody's going to do any of that, right? Because the reality is 80-year-old people, right, doing things that are extremely difficult, no problem. Like, you can attempt that, right? But when the experiment's been run and it's been failed, that needs to be listened to on the presidential level. And right now, I saw The Irishman. Martin Scorsese ain't got no good movies left in him, right? So the reality is this is where we got to land, right? He is the appropriate mark. And frankly, every day, Vivek's going to go out. He has to seize every opportunity to jump into the fray and discuss relevant things to American people. And I really think he needs to correct Martin Scorsese for this outrageously ill-researched, incredibly arrogant and foolish remark, which is an insult to America, and Vivek needs to defend America. And he needs every day to propel himself toward a win. He's not doing that right now. He's running a 1950s campaign. I'm a good candidate. I'm going to run a good race. I'm going to win. No, you're not. You will lose. Vivek, get on it. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I hear your humble opinion. Do you think I'm right? Is this good advice for Vivek? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.